We continue now with our public hearings. Mr. County Administrator, if you would walk us through the succession of hearings that we've scheduled for this afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll take this one. This agenda item is simply basically the conclusion of the authorization from the board to repeal the existing open burning ordinance, which it basically just misrepresents the state of the law. I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have. There have been a number of agenda items on the open burning issue, but if there are any questions about the repeal, I'm happy to answer them for the board.
Okay, are there questions? Hearing none, is there a motion for option one? We have a motion, a second. We have no discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Passes unanimously. Our next item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 22 has been removed from the agenda. It brings us to public hearing item number 23, which is your first and only public hearing to consider the adoption of an ordinance on the electric vehicle charging station infrastructure and electric vehicle parking requirements. Commissioners, it reflects all your previous direction on this item. We do have 2 speaker cards on this item, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we recognize those 2 speakers.
Our first speaker joins us by Zoom, Dory Larson.
Ms. Larson, please state your name and address for the record. You're welcome to the County Commission's meeting.
Thank you. My name is Dory Larson. I live at 1846 Lexington Place in Tarpon Springs. Can you all hear me?
We can.
Excellent. Well, good evening, Chairman Proctor and members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak virtually. I am the Electric Transportation Program Manager with the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy, or SACE. For over 35 years, SACE has been a regional leader advocating for equitable and responsible energy choices in the Southeast. I'm speaking in strong support of the EV Ready Ordinance, requiring EV infrastructure to be planned for at the time of new construction is one of the most impactful, cost-effective actions Leon County can take to facilitate the adoption of EVs. As a county commission that embraces smart policymaking, you understand the intersection of our buildings, our electric system, and our transportation systems, and how critical it is to build new buildings with the capacity to support electric vehicles. You also understand the co-benefits electric transportation brings to those who live, work, and play in Leon County. Economic development, lower cost of transportation, increased energy security, reduced emissions, and reduced climate risk, just to name a few. EVs are a benefit to drivers, saving them on average over $1,000 annually in fuel and maintenance, which keeps a lot more money in our local economy. SACE estimates that by switching to electric in Florida, we can spend $10.4 billion less annually on fuel. Additionally, $2.1 billion annually would be recirculating through and support local economies if we switch to a fully electric transportation system. Also, the economic benefits of EVs spill over to non-EV drivers as well. By adding new EV charging load at the right times, EV adoption can help drive down costs for all electric utility consumers. One report found Florida utility customers would accrue over $21 billion in the form of reduced electric bills by 2050. To realize these benefits, drivers need to feel secure that they will have a place to charge their vehicles, which is why EV Ready policy is so important. Lack of access to home charging is a known barrier to EV adoption. As a county commission who values equity, you also understand the need to ensure access, which is a tenet of energy justice, to EV charging stations for all residents who live in Leon County. EV charging is not an amenity, it's a requirement to make the electric vehicles work. And timing is the key. We need to be skating where the puck is going, and this ordinance prepares new developments for the inevitable EV adoption that's coming and is critical to meet policy goals. So the time is now to ensure the transition happens in the most cost-effective way possible, and I would urge you to approve this ordinance. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. May we ask you, Ms. Larson, what formula will be used to disperse this money when it comes? We see in our package that $198 million will come to Florida. We see that President Biden had $7.5 billion. Is there a formula? Is it based on county? What is it based on? And do you have any understanding?
There's 2 pots of money for that. So $5 billion is formula funds, in which you mentioned the state of Florida is expected to receive about $198 million. over the course of 5 years, and that will be allocated to communities along designated alternative fuel corridors. There's an additional pot of money, $2.5 billion, that's competitive grant funding that cities and counties will be eligible to apply for, but the guidance has not been released from the federal government on that program yet.
Okay. We thank you very much for weighing in, and this certainly gives us confidence in terms of what's being proposed here. We thank you. Our next speaker.
The final speaker on this item, final public speaker on this item, Meta Calder.
Ms. Holder, please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Mita Calder. I live at 3740 Ravine Drive here in Tallahassee, and I'm with the League of Women Voters. I just want to say that the Tallahassee League of Women Voters wants to commend the Commission for considering the adoption of an ordinance that will expand opportunities for charging EVs in our community by requiring the installation of EV charging infrastructure in new multifamily residential and commercial parking areas, as well as townhomes with more than 3 individual units. Once again, Leon County is in the vanguard with proposals to reduce its carbon footprint. In this instance, by accommodating the infrastructure needs of a rapidly expanding EV industry and emerging technology that is key to addressing the climate crisis. The Florida League of Women Voters is very interested in promoting all efforts to ease and encourage the transition to clean energy, and this action is an excellent step in meeting that goal. So thank you very much, and we encourage you to adopt the proposed ordinance.
Thank you. Are there other speakers? Okay, commissioners, are there any comments? Commissioner Minor Dozier. Commissioner Jackson, you with us? You did. Okay, Commissioner Minor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Like our speakers from this evening, I'm very enthusiastic about this agenda item. This is very forward-thinking, and it shows true leadership from amongst, I think, this board of county commissioners. Very enthusiastically voting for this and in support of this. One thing that I think we all received an email from Dr. J.R. Harding, who is who's a very renowned advocate for people with disabilities. And one thing he brought to my attention, I wasn't well versed on this, so I'm really glad he communicated this to us, is that EVs currently are not designed for people with significant disabilities. There's really not any kind of easy way for people with significant disabilities, wheelchair-bound, for example, to use an EV at this point. And then also EVs currently right now are about 1/3 more expensive than traditional gas vehicles. So you add on top of that a retrofit to allow someone with a disability to use a car, fitting that for a disability can be as much as $60,000. So what that does is even though EVs are much more expensive in some cases too expensive for many of us, for a person with disabilities, it's even more out of reach in terms of price. So I just want to ensure there's nothing we can do about that in this agenda item. I think we should and must support this agenda item enthusiastically. I will. But one thing that I think we all need to be aware of is that as EVs are becoming much more prevalent, and all the major manufacturers are claiming that they're going to be taking an increasingly large sector of the market in the coming years, we need to be all very cognizant of the fact of the challenges it poses to people with disabilities. So Dr. Harding, I don't know if you're listening right now, but I want to thank you for sending that email to us. It matters. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was waiting for the motion because I thought we were both jumping in on that. I'll make a motion to move the item enthusiastically. Thank you, Commissioner Minor. I also noted Mr. Harding's email, and as county administrator, this reminds me of an issue that actually I think emerged from, you know exactly where I'm going with this, a number of years ago. If I remember correctly, it was a couple of Leon High School students, and Mr. Harding was helping them to improve access at many of our gas stations in town. We changed some rules, and made it a little easier for folks to reach a button, and they were very involved in that. That was, I think I'm getting those details right. Is that correct, Mr. Administrator? Yeah? You're not.
You're correct.
That's okay. Okay, thank you. if there is technology in the future that makes it more easily accessible for folks to use charging stations, I think we should keep an eye on that. We've already set a precedent with the gas stations, and it's nothing we can't do anything about right now, as Commissioner Minor said, but I'm glad he made the suggestion. The other thing I just wanted to note is I wanted to appreciate folks from Sustainable Tallahassee, and I know we got some here. You may see them around town with the electric car. I'm not sure. Forgive me if it's at the club or others that are involved. They've been at a number of events in the last month. They'll give you information about EVs, and although the price is very high right now, I think we're going to see a lot more on the market, and that public education is important. So just wanted to appreciate that, and again, Mr. Chair, enthusiastic about this item. Thanks.
Very good. Commissioner Welch?
I have nothing, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Cummings?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just certainly am in support of this particular ordinance. I think we recognize that electric vehicles are what's trending, that not only that, we all want to reach zero carbon emission. I believe the target is 2035. We certainly support the sustainability that we all want to reach with clean air, and this helps conserve and preserve, of course, the ozone layer. And I think it's very well written, Madam County Attorney, and thank you so much.
Very good. Ms. Vice Chairman?
Hey, Mr. Chair. First of all, let the record reflect that I vote with the majority on item number 21. That's with staff recommendation on there. As far as 23, I'll be voting in favor of the motion on the floor. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Commissioners, it sounds like this is going to pass overwhelmingly. The chairman is going to vote against this measure. I'm concerned by language in attachment 2 on page 3 and 4 there at the bottom. This language bothers me with respect to the speaker indicating, Ms. Holder, that equity was important. And I'm just concerned by a sentence here that compels my voting against this, because this is not equity ready, and we don't have the language prepared that all sides of our community involved. Listen to this on page 955 of 1087 of our meeting today. Outside the Weelaunee Critical Area Plan, the Tallahassee-Leon County Comprehensive Plan has no goals, objectives, and policies that explicitly reference electric vehicle charging stations and infrastructure. That's outside of the Weelaunee Critical Area Plan. There are no goals, objectives that explicitly reference electric vehicle charging stations and infrastructure. Inasmuch as we can have explicit references to electric charging stations for Weelaunee, we certainly could as easily have those same things for other areas, but we don't, and it's not ready. And equity would be better served if I saw language that was inclusive of Commissioner Jackson's district, Commissioner Proctor's district, but I'm simply making a judgment based upon the data which our staff has applied to us. All in favor of the motion?
Mr. Chair, just before you take a vote, may I ask a clarifying question here?
Sure.
I think you pick up on a significant piece there, but my impression is what we're doing tonight is exactly what you're asking for. That to date, I see the county administrator nodding here, so I'll give you a second, sir. To date, this is the only place we've referenced electric charging stations, but our action tonight is to make it more equitable in the county. Mr. County Administrator, am I saying that correctly?
That's correct. That's my understanding. Let me defer to Barry.
I'm just going on what I have here on
Absolutely.
attachment 2. I'm just reading what they told us.
You're absolutely correct. That's a statement of the current condition. With the adoption of the ordinance, obviously this would be applied countywide, so it wouldn't be just isolated to the Weelaunee critical area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
how
Mr.
does-
Chair, you are right, that was a problem. What we do tonight makes it countywide. So that is the action I think you're looking for.
We do have a charging station up there in front of Steinmar's, the old Steinmar's. Where else do we have a charging station anyway? We have one up in Commissioner Welch's district, We have language that also is in his district with Wulani. Are there other charging stations in our community for the public at large right now? What exists? Anybody know? So in terms of the actual presence, it's still all up in the north side, period. There's no other place that they
Actually,
exist currently.
there's
I'm
some-
going on what I see exists currently and what's in writing. Yes, County Attorney.
I was just going to say anecdotally, there are some actually in one of the parking lots over for the, at the Capitol. And then we have two in our courthouse
You mean
garage.
in the parking lot of the
Well,
Capitol?
Yeah, in one of the parking lots at the Capitol.
Is that
or on the
accessible to
south
the
side.
public?
I believe it is. You just have to pull through and park there. They installed those 2 years, maybe 3 years ago. So there are some, but Barry may have more information than just my anecdotal observations.
Mr. Administrator?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I think the bigger picture here is the market has up till now determined where they are, and that's why you may see them in certain areas.
Well, I need some. I ain't voting for nothing. I ain't getting-
What this ordinance will do is to create requirements for future development.
that need to come back to us. I'm telling you now. I ain't voting for nothing that I ain't gonna get, period. And I should have been in here. I'm not. I mean, it's just a poor frog that ain't gonna croak over his own pond. So what you're telling me is that tell me what the language is that equity is achieved like Mrs. Holder suggested.
This ordinance would be in effect countywide, but go ahead.
Yeah, that is absolutely correct. Yeah, it would be in effect countywide with commercial development, multifamily development, townhomes of 3 or more. And right now, I think what you read, Commissioner Chairman, is that currently the only reference to EV readiness is in the Wulani Critical Area Plan. With the adoption of this ordinance, that requirement would go countywide, regardless of district, regardless of locale. The charging stations that are in place right now were put in place by the city puts them in at the Renaissance Center. Other ones were put in by Tesla near Steinmart, I think is the one you were referring to earlier. So they were all market-based. This was all third parties who were choosing where to put these. The requirement that you're voting on today would compel EV readiness, meaning at least having the electrical connections to parking spaces in apartment complexes, in commercial developments all over the entire county.
All right, I'm trying to get sewer out of the city. Ain't got that. I've got people coming down here trying to get internet access and services. We haven't gotten that. These are things which genuinely exist and pervade communities all across the community. We get promises. Now, I suspect, commissioners, that the airport likely is going to have some charging stations. I really believe that's going to be the south side. And they're going to, oh, that over in the south side. It's at the airport. But based upon the trends, the very slow evolution, the likelihood that we will put infrastructure in the south side when we've not put sidewalks, we've not put lights, we've not put sewer, we're not even giving people the right to vote who pay utilities. It's hard to support. Anyway, I've said my piece. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Oppose the same sign, aye. Our next item, Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners.
Passes 5-1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, this item is your first of 2 public hearings to consider the adoption of an ordinance amending the Land Development Code to address sign regulations. Commissioners, this item too reflects all of your previous direction on this. I have no speakers on this item.
Commissioners, do we have an option to adopt? We have a motion by Commissioner Dozier, second by Commissioner Welch. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. It passes unanimously. Back to general business, Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Back to the general business, item number 19, Commissioners, seeks commissioner appointments to the Value Adjustment Board. We are seeking 2 commissioners to the Value Adjustment Board. Currently, Commissioners Jackson and Maddox serve on the Value Adjustment Board, with Commissioner Maddox serving as the chair of the VAB.
Commissioner Cummings, is there a motion on your part on the Value Adjustment Board? Are both of these commissioners willing to serve, continue serving? We have Commissioner Maddox and Commissioner Jackson serving. Would you all like to reappoint them? That's what I'm asking. Is there a motion to reappoint Jackson and Maddox?
I'll move.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Cummings, second by Commissioner Dozier. Hearing no discussion, all in favor, please say aye. It passes unanimously.
Thank you,
Next
gentlemen.
item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item, Commissioners, seeks the board consideration of the appointment of citizens to the Advisory Committee on Quality Growth, options 1 through 5. Make recommendations relative to eligible candidates to serve in the respective roles.
Mr. Vice Chairman, is that something you're trying to
Mr.
say?
Chair, I make a motion for Jabari Allen.
Okay,
Second.
all right. We want to vote on one at a time, or are we doing a slate? Are there enough?
If the vice chair
In the
doesn't
pool.
I'll amend my motion if someone else has.
Well, options 1 through 3, we have 3 appointments recommended by other groups. So I think there's only one name in each of those. And I had Mr. Allen on my list as well, so thank you for that. And for option 5, I hope I pronounced this right, Dr. Karkarik. So if the vice chair would add
Yes.
options 1 through 3, the names there, and option 5 for Mr. Karkarik, Dr.
I will.
Karkarik.
I'll accept that amendment.
Thank you.
All righty, that takes care of all the slots. Okay, we have a motion set by Commissioner Dozier, Vice Chair, amended by Commissioner Dozier, agreed to by the Vice Chair, and we have all those slots set. Hearing no further discussion, all members in support of this motion, please say aye. Aye. It passes unanimously. Does that bring us to our conclusion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one clarification on your previous item, item number 19 on the Value Adjustment Board. We also were seeking your identification of who would be chair for that, and just wanted to clarify that you wanted Commissioner Maddox to continue to be chair, or if you wanted to mix it up.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We want his chairness to remain the chair.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Are we now complete with our meeting for the evening?
That concludes
Very good.
your agenda, Commissioners. I just have one speaker on citizens to be heard on non-agenda items.
Very good. Let us receive that person.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jeremy Block.
Mr. Block, welcome back. Please state your name and address for our...
Jeremy Block, 1109 East 6th Avenue. Yeah, deja vu all over again. But Commissioner Proctor, the reason I'm back up here is because of your statement to this body and myself back on February 3rd, which is when I first kind of pitched my idea about a gun buyback program. And what you said after I presented a 3-minute dissertation about how it would work and the mechanics of it, and you said, Mr. Block, you've hit a home run. And within 2 minutes, all the commissioners approved to make it an agenda item in an upcoming meeting and to have the sheriff present so there might be discussion on the item that was salient to how to make it work. And that hasn't happened earlier this afternoon. So I'm back up here to just give you a few more considerations of facts, and maybe my dream can come to fruition. One of them is buyback program has worked in other communities in our state. That information was not shared in the staff's recommendation to you that was submitted last week, I believe. Also, one of the most salient things from that I mentioned earlier, and that is the ability to show the members of our community and your constituents that aside from the Council on Men and Boys, which has recently been implemented and wonderfully funded, I might add, it was exciting to see the approval on that funding because I think it's going to work. I think it's going to make a difference. But it won't make a difference in the immediate future. I believe a gun buyback program, even though it does not have any empirical evidence that it's saleable, I think we need to go to anecdotal evidence because there were 51, 52, I don't remember, shootings year to date. And there's a biblical concept that I just want to quote to you from my memory, and that is, if you save one person it's as though you saved the whole world. And I'd be voting for, even if we took 1 or 2 weapons off the street, that would be incredibly significant. And that's my point, and I'm sticking to it, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Block. I didn't know I had called that home run so amazingly. It made that impression, but I thought it was a home run. And I thank you for coming back to share with us. There are a number of agencies, entities, churches that have participated in gun buyback in previous years. They have been successful on some Saturdays, for instance, at my church, Bethel AME Church, as many as over 100 guns have been redeemed. And it was very popular. TPD participated, and it was a big to-do. Certainly, as you well know, nearly every 3 months, every quarter, we have a gun show in the South Side, a gun show. Billboards are allowed to be put up about those things. This commissioner has asked that those be prohibited, that gun sales be prohibited to be put on billboards in sky pink, lime green, just incredible to get your attention. Our board was told at that time by our county's attorney that it was illegal for us to prohibit First Amendment rights and to talk about Second Amendment protections of citizens to purchase and have guns. But I've been concerned about this, sir, a long time. And I believe that among commissioners here, my community is probably most impacted with shootings. So I'm very sensitive to it. But when you buy back 100 guns on a Saturday, and in 3 more months, there's going to be another gun show, and they'll sell 600-700 guns down there. We're fighting, we're swimming upstream, really we are. And this board, I believe all of us are sensitive. We get beaten out of the public when you don't see it, know it, about our stance or lack thereof of a stance on what are we going to do with guns. So I'm grateful for your sharing what you are. And Sheriff McNeil, for sure, recognizes that with that Men and Boys Council, he's seeking to start on the front end early to alter a culture, a mindset of those persons who may not be responsible owners of guns. And he's trying to alter the course of a culture where criminality occurs, seeps in, invest in the hearts and spirits of people to use guns against each other. It's an amazing thing. It's a hell of a problem that we have in our city and across America. So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Other commissioners, Mr. Minor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Block, thank you very much for speaking twice. I think the second time I thought was also very effective. I appreciate it. I think everyone up here would consider reducing gun violence as a top priority here for the county. And when you came and spoke in February, I thought it was just pitch perfect. As you alluded to, the chairman said it was a home run, and I think your talk then was right on point. In the agenda item, it talks about the sheriff's office in Leon County having the ceasefire program, which is a non-traditional gun buyback program that targets the seizure of guns used illegally through tips. Which from the agenda item, it seems that the sheriff's office is really putting a lot of that investment of effort into that program. So I think that's one reason why the board here is satisfied with the agenda item as it's written. But you and I have talked about this before. You and I have talked about some of the other gun buyback programs that seem to be working. I'd like to work with you on that continually, in talking about the gun buyback programs in Florida that I'd like to get more information with you about, and I'd like to continue working with you on it. So I think this agenda item was really helpful, I think for me personally at least, and perhaps some of my colleagues, in shedding some more light on the recent efforts here locally, as well as some of the studies of the national merit of gun buyback programs. However, it's not the end-all be-all, right? And I'd like to continue to work with you to find out if there's an adjustment of another program you might be able to bring to Tallahassee and Leon County to reduce gun violence even further. So thank you very much for your interest, and I hope that we can continue to work with you on this issue. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, are there other speakers? Okay. Ms. Osteen, what would you share with our board this evening?
I have one item for the board this evening. As indicated in a memo that I distributed to the board yesterday, there has been another opioid litigation settlement between the state of Florida and two different Walgreens entities. There's a hard and fast deadline for local governments who want to participate in that settlement to provide the opt-in form, and that hard deadline is June 3rd. Outside counsel and myself, we are recommending that the board approve the proposed settlement. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioners, is there a motion? Okay, we have a motion by Vice Chair and a second by Commissioner Welch. Hearing no other, seeing no hands for discussion, all in favor, please say aye. It passes unanimously. Very good. Okay.
I have nothing further.
Mr. Administrator?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no additional items. Thank you very much.
Very good. Commissioner Minor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a few quick things. I have the honor of serving on the Riley House Board with Ms. Altemis Barnes, and she's been working. She's a hero in this state. She has, with a large team of people and advocates, have been instrumental in making sure that Florida recognizes May 20th as Emancipation Day. And so, as you know, the event on May 20th, I think all of us have been to some of those events in prior years. That's coming up. I think, if I remember right, don't get me wrong, but I think the events start around 9 a.m. and can then continue and then finish up at Knott House around 12 or 1 p.m. But I think the schedule's been provided to you, but want to make sure to point that out for not just the county, but also anyone that might be listening at this meeting. And then also just wanted to recognize Matt Kemp of Leon County EMS for chairing Honor Flight Tallahassee, as he has for many years. We had our last Honor Flight, first one in a couple of years because of the pandemic, on April 23rd. And Commissioner Welch and I went. Really amazing time. It's really nothing quite like it, being a guardian for some of our veterans to go to D.C. for a day and see some of the monuments commemorating their efforts. And lastly, I wanted to, actually that is it. I wanted to, because I had some notes here about the gun buyback program that Mr. Block had brought up, but I brought that up just a few minutes ago. That concludes my comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Very, very good. Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Try to move through these items quickly. First, I'd like to request a proclamation celebrating June as Pride Month to be presented at our June 14th commission meeting.
Okay, we have a motion, second by Vice Chair. Is there any comments? Here none. All in favor, please say aye. Very good. Passes unanimously.
The second issue, I was going to bring up during comment time at the last meeting, but we got a little late, so fell off the list. During our comprehensive plan joint transmittal meeting, I brought up an issue about exploring the notice requirements for very large-scale amendments. Currently, it's the same 1,000 feet as we might see for small amendments, and something like the large developments, large comp plan amendments, I think we might want to consider expanding that. If you remember, the county attorney, it was determined that we needed to bring that to the county commission. The mayor did commit to bring it to the city commission, and I'm not sure to date. Madam County Attorney, did you find out any information? Okay, thank you. I appreciate you checking on that. So I would like to expand that and consider our Leon County notice for large-scale developments. This happened to come up at a HOA meeting with a neighborhood that's very close to the Amazon development, and someone asked if something like that has a lot of traffic impact, perhaps we should expand the notice requirements. So I'm not asking for anything specific here, but I would like to make a motion for an agenda item to come back, giving us the history, maybe comparisons, Mr. County Administrator, and looking at options to expand the notice for large-scale comprehensive plan amendments and large-scale developments. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second by Vice Chairman. All in favor of the agenda item coming back offered in the form of motion by Commissioner Dozier, please say aye. Passes unanimously. Yes, ma'am, Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you. Only two other quick items here. I picked up on, well, and I can't help but say this, Mr. Bossman Jackson, because that everyone else is repeating it, right? His comments about celebrating Emancipation Day at Lake Hall. That really stood out to me. I had not heard that as a place where Emancipation Day was celebrated. And Commissioner Minor, since you just brought up comments about your work on Riley House Board, perhaps this is something, I mean, if there is some history there, I'm quite confident that it ended at some point for some reasons we might be able to uncover, but if there is some history there, it might be interesting to dig into that a little bit. And so I'm just going to leave that as a comment right now. We could explore that, but I didn't want to lose that thread. Finally, over the past, goodness, it's been 5 years now since I was diagnosed with celiac, which means I can never have gluten again in my life, wheat, anything like that. And as you all well know, every single one of you has heard this at some point because there's food at every event we go to, and it's rather challenging. And so I get to be a de facto ambassador because I'm always telling people why I can't eat at certain events. This is Celiac Awareness Month, and I did not request a proclamation, but I wanted to note it, and I could give a appreciation to a lot of folks. But I am going to say, yes, it's challenging, but it is absolutely workable for those of us with celiac or other allergies, extreme allergies. There's a lot of restaurants in town that do a phenomenal job. Their staff is very aware, and they really help, and I've heard this from other parents and everyone, navigate challenges when your child may get very sick, if not, deathly ill, if they are exposed to peanuts or something else like that. So bringing this to a close, I want to appreciate my commission aide, Gary Zirin, who has the tough task of setting up lunches and other meetings and dealing with conferences and all of that. He's learned this very well. I'm not even sure if he's listening to this right now. And because most recently I went to the Leadership Tallahassee annual meeting and graduation last week, and I didn't even think about it. I walked in and Barbara Boone had my little gluten-free label. I put it down. Barbara and Dana at the chamber have taken care of me at every single conference for years. I don't even have to think about it anymore. So this is my way of sharing a little information, doing my own little public service announcement proclamation, but also giving a lot of appreciation for everyone who tries to take care of those of us who deal with extreme allergies and issues like celiac. That's it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
She didn't do it, but I'll second that proclamation to be presented.
Well, May is Celiac Awareness Month. We could do it in June if you want. We could do it a month late, but since I didn't request a proclamation for this month, I just thought I would mention it here.
I think it's worth it.
If you would like to do it, sir, actually, the vice chair handles the meals. Why don't we work on, if you don't mind, we can get our aides together and work on a meal for next month. I promise gluten-free is really good.
You mean the ribs and chicken we served tonight wasn't gluten free?
Yeah, All right.
We'll make sure we have an option available.
Okay.
But I still think we should just do the proclamation, though. I would second that.
That'd be fantastic. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I appreciate that.
Let me hit the gavel. You guys are having too much fun. This is a county commission meeting. Okay, thank you so much.
There is a
Commissioner
motion,
Dozier.
sir.
We bring this meeting back to order. All right, Commissioner Welch.
Wait, there's a motion, Mr. Chair.
Oh, that was a motion. Apologize. All in favor of the motion that we have a gluten-free dinner next time?
No.
missed it.
Proclamation. The proclamation.
Oh,
That's,
all right.
The Vice Chair was seconding the motion. I hadn't made yet for a proclamation recognizing May as Celiac Awareness Month at the June meeting.
And I thought he was, seconding. We was going to get
Clear as
some
mud.
meat. Okay, all right. You heard that good motion, seconded it by the Vice Chair. All in favor, please say aye.
Thank you.
Passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Commissioner Dozier. Commissioner Welch, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is mac and cheese gluten-free? Oh, man. The mac and cheese in there, it tasted like it was gluten-free. I think you should have had some. It was awesome. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, for hooking it up. I want to say, I want to echo Commissioner Minor's comments about honor flight. It was my first honor flight. Mac Kemp and our EMS folks that was just incredible. And I think when you combine that with the Veterans Day event that we put on, I have a real soft spot for veterans. And we do it really well here in Leon County. We really honor our veterans and take really good care of them. Honor Flight was just really a life-altering experience for me, very moving and just really a beautiful experience. So I just wanted to really thank Mac and all of the Leon EMS folks who were there on the planes. They do an incredible job and take really great care of our veterans on that trip, and it was awesome. I also wanted to thank the Village Square for our town hall that we had in the last month. I thought it was nice that all 12 of the local elected officials could sit around the table and be, nice and really have a good conversation on issues and debate and talk about that kind of stuff. So that was awesome. Thank you to Village Square for doing that. Also wanted to congratulate the as yet undisclosed new Leadership Tallahassee class. You know how it is. You see a sort of smattering of who's been selected, but nobody really knows yet. I know they're going to have a new class preview. I think it's in early May, if I'm not mistaken. Late May. Sorry. So congratulations to all those folks who've gotten their letters. And I wanted to also wish good luck to, I think there's 7 local high school baseball teams playing in the regionals this week, including my Child's Timberwolves, whose first pitch begins in 15 minutes. So good luck to all of our local baseball players who are competing in their state tournaments this week. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, Commissioner, you're excused from this meeting. I would not miss that first pitch. I really wouldn't. All right, Commissioner Cummings.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to report, Mr. Chair, as the Commission's representative on the Children's Services Council, that the Children's Services Council is moving very well, and we are letting contracts. As a matter of fact, there's an RFP, request for proposal, that's being publicized right now that will close pretty soon, where we will be letting services for the children and families this summer. So I'm very, very excited about that. This will be the first contractual service that the Children's Services Council will have. It's only for 2 months during the summer, but we feel that it's very important to address some of the services and needs of our children and families during this summer. And we are anticipating the gap analysis that we hope to receive within the next 30 days, Mr. Chair. So very good report. We're excited about that. And I just wanted to also commend and congratulate, based on the communication I received from the county administrator, Mr. Matthew Cavelli, and his staff for having received eight awards in the area, their area of media and communications. And I just think it's awesome that we've got that caliber of individuals who are competing with Sachs Media and all the other big medias, but took home 8 awards. So I think that's a testament to our county administrator, good employees, Mr. Cavell and his staff, and kudos to you guys for representing us, representing the county, showcasing the county in the best possible way. So
Matt said it was really no competition.
No competition? Oh. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Very good, very good. Ms. Vice Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just always a pleasure to serve with you all. You know, it's crazy how sometimes we can just come up with the most creative things on the spot. We always make it work. Mr. Chair, good job running a very good meeting tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Staff, I know we make it complicated for you guys, but you guys make us look good. I had an opportunity to speak to some of our good staff outside of here and was proud of the way they carry themselves, not only while they're on the job, but while they're off the job as well. So we should be very proud of the employees we have here in Leon County, and our constituents should be very proud of the job they do for us on and off the field. I would like to ask for a presentation just from the, actually, you know what? I'm going to wait on that. I'm going to ask first for a meeting with the county administrator, so I'm going to wait on that. But aside from that, Mr. Chair, good job tonight. Look forward to hearing from what you have for us tonight.
Okay, feel very good. What I have for you, as we come to the halfway point of our year, I have semester grades. And we come October 1 in our budget year, I think we're concluding the 6-month halfway point. And minor, I looked at this and the body of work you've done the first half of the year, you've earned an A. Doja, I had prayer meeting before I could come to a ready conclusion, but you got an A. Welch, I was concerned, but you got back up on the wagon, you know what I mean? And you scrambled and got back on there. You had an A. Cummings, you never deviated. You just took off on day one and just shine. A. Mr. Jackson opened. Yes, could you tell a little bit about the park? Matt, could you tell us a little bit about the park that we did on out there, adding on to Commissioner Jackson's district? Give us just the trail that we did Saturday morning. And this helps him to get an A. He really comes on.
On Saturday, this past Saturday, 2 Saturdays ago rather, we opened the Fort Braden History Walk, a community trail for all. It's in District 2, Commissioner Jackson's district. It's a 0.5-mile trail that features 4 history signs of local Fort Braden topics, history topics ranging from Lake Talquin to the education history and all of what that is. And that was really one of those events that was brought together and informed by the community and really executed very strongly by Maggie's team, Leon County Parks and Recreation.
Very good. We had a great time Saturday morning, incredible. And I just believe that that pushed him up. I mean, he really got an A, seeing that he opened a brand new trail to all like that for Commissioner Jackson. And then to our vice chairman. Vice chairman is just, I think you said it best, Commissioner Welch. Vice chairman, would you give us a motion? Set us a motion. And he has the most uncanny way of hearing everybody in the room and framing a motion. He can thread that needle, but I know it comes from, and you have to have about 0.1, 0.2 seconds to make your mind if you're going to go inside the title or outside the title. And you got to hurry up and make your mind up because there's going to be some big old guys, mean guys trying to hurt you. So he has this capacity to evaluate and to make a move, and he sees daylight in a way that we thank you for crafting the way you do. So there's an A there. Then for our county administrator, we may have to have a prayer meeting a little longer there, but Chassie has done a great job steering us. This motion she brings here tonight for that we've just done for opioids. There were 3 books. There were 3 books larger. That last opioid, we had 3 books this size, which she, handles. That's one case. And we've not had any consternation that's major. So we thank you. We know you're putting out fires because they don't come up here. And that's incredible. Vince, what you pleading with me for another chance or what? You're great? Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to tell you what helped you out a lot. Shinkton had the housing, what was that thing called, Shinkton, the Saturday? The Spring Expo event. And he called your name so many times, I thought you was showing up or something, you know what I mean? So, yeah. And Shinkton has just showed up, showed out, and done such great work. And ever since that PPE money, they've had momentum. And that PPE thingy has just jump-started our housing office. It's reach out. I think that we're lifted on a visibility scale, which heretofore was not ours, and it was amazing. Matt has gone out there and just took over the Grammys of awards. Was just cited. And Matt's the kind of person, if you give him an inch, he'll take a mile. Matt don't know how to not make the other folk look competitive. People get angry at you, Matt, when you just take all the trophies home, and they won't. So there's a way in which you let people not as good as you make them look a little, but we commend you for your outstanding work. And we keep getting awards. We keep getting the success of all of what our staff does. And so Vince, I believe, no thanks to yourself, but man, you're surrounded by this great, great staff. All right, so you get an A. So all A's the first half. Now, I don't know where we're going to be in November, but I'm just speaking to what you guys have done right now. Finally, commissioners, tonight, I felt that I owed you an early exit. I do, and Commissioner Dozier was growling at me in a meeting or so ago, and I'm trying to do the right thing. And hold on, y'all. Bishop Richardson, I'm gonna call you when I get out this meeting. I'm in a meeting. I promise I'm calling you right back. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's about as close to God as you're gonna ever get a call from Bishop A.J. Richardson, and you just don't not take a bishop's call. That's just what you don't do. That's just like Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob to me. So, excuse me, I wouldn't have ever done that, but nobody but the bishop of the African Methodist Episcopal Church, the senior bishop, for sure. I wanted the commissioners to indicate that there's a summer reading and writing skills program that is being put on by MRSA. I wanted to ask if we could, I got it out of the FAMU DRS school, if we could put this on our WLCS, Leon County television station, and allow for the public to know that reading and writing skills are being offered programs for preschoolers through entering in the 11th grade. If we could put this on our station, that is an ask. We need a vote for that, Madam County Attorney. As a public information item about reading and writing programs.
Sure. I was just going to say, you don't need to vote on it, commissioners. We'll put it on all of our platforms that we can. There may be some technical issues with the station, but if we can make it happen, but we've got a lot of other platforms and we'll be sure to distribute it.
Very good. Also, commissioners, the school board is hosting I believe a catch-up to make up for the pandemic losses. Some students got a little further behind, and I'm asking if, in fact, we can also put the school boards, expand the public knowing that students who've fallen behind can participate and perhaps catch up with their efforts. I'm really grateful, given the number of Title I schools. A lot of kids were already on a fragile edge, but that the school board has a window that they're willing to give people a chance to compensate for losses of instructional access is a good thing, and I'd like for us to put that on the public station for children and families to know about. And then you guys do a good job. I want to thank our Leon County Sheriff. They protect us and hold their shoulders high and chests out, and makes you feel good that everything is going to be all right. We thank you all. Commissioners, I desire that we also expand the availability of meaning of the elder services as well as the Big Bend Hospice. The gaps which those entities fulfill for us, for feeding our hungry elder citizens, some of the food deserts which exist. And I was intended to thank Shinkton for the 11-point outreach listening session pertaining to food deserts and hunger. I participated last week at New Mount Zion. We came over the next day over to Smith Williams, Walker Ford, and we have, you should look at that schedule, 11-stop tour on food. I think that it would advance our community awareness if they were knew of elder services and Big Bend Hospice, and if there were factoids or fact sheets that we could galvanize. We've recognized both of them in today's meeting and the prior meeting, critical needs of families at times when they're most destitute, and that's an ask for us putting on public service announcement. Is there a need for a motion or something like that? Okay, thank you, Councilman. All right, then finally, Commissioners, I'm asking tonight your consideration and thought for a budget. I'm sorry, a budget. That's a good one. That would have been slick, Nick. Not a budget, but for an agenda item to come back, which would give consideration to the naming of extending the name, make an adjustment of the name Cascades Park to Cascades Park at Smoky Hollow. Tonight, we've heard the fourth rendition of a formal agenda item about a school whose name I know nothing of out there. Tonight, we talked about a potential spending $3.3 million for restoring a little black school, which is a blast from the past. And we don't want to forget it. This is a no cost ask that I have. It doesn't cost $3 million, but simply it serves to frame a reference to the recollection of a community that did exist before Appalachia Parkway was built, that did exist before the Florida Department of Transportation building was placed. A community that, more than a little school, but a community where the Florida Fresh Water and Wildlife Fish Commission existed. And I'm asking for that we would look at a name extension of that being Cascades Park at Smoky Hollow. And I make that in the form of a motion.
I'll second the chair's motion. Any discussion on the motion?
Point of order, the chair cannot make a motion.
I know, I'm taking it out.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome, Mr. Chair. Any discussion?
I just have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Would that have to be action in conjunction with the city of Tallahassee as well?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, to answer your question, Commissioner, it would have to be action taken by the city.
Oh, by the city.
That would be within their jurisdiction.
Oh, okay. So we are proposing what, a proposal to them or ordinance or something, where a recommendation to the city, then, Mr. Chair? Okay.
Well, I'm grateful that that came up, but certainly if our board adopted a point of resolution to the city, commending why our desire to reserve a reference of respect for the place of Smoky Hollow and where Cascades Park now exists.
Mr. Chairman has amended his motion to be a resolution supporting the changing of the name of Cascade Park to Cascade Park at Smoky Hollow. I will second that motion for discussion. Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Possibly a related issue. You just brought this back to mind. I believe the city had some discussion about renaming the amphitheater recently as well. And while the city manages Cascade Park, so as you said, Mr. County Administrator, they would have to make a formal decision on that. The amphitheater is that under our jurisdiction still? So if they're considering a name change to the amphitheater, that would have to come back to us. Is that correct?
Yeah. Chassie and I were just talking because we'd been previously looking at that issue. It actually is the city's call as well. That is, you may recall the old stage agreement.
Yes.
Yes, that does provide us the ability to have certain, a number of public events and regional events and that sort of thing, and public use of the facility, but it is within the city's jurisdiction to name the facility.
Thank you for that. I wasn't quite sure, but I will just put it out here that I'll support the motion. I think it's good for us to have the conversation and recommend to the city. This is one of those many points where we would be better served by a better working relationship with the city on these issues. I mean, it's a jointly funded park. Visit Tallahassee, bed tax funded the amphitheater. These are decisions that, I mean, we all have a stake in this. We all have funding in it. And I really hope the city chooses to work with us on either the park name and/or the amphitheater name going forward. So, Mr. Chair, I'm glad you brought it up. Definitely support the motion, and we could get in that conversation a little more when the item comes back. Thank you.
Commissioner Dozier made excellent points. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, 5-2. Yeah.
5-0, Jackson's absent, Welch is out of chambers.
There we go. All right. Mr. Chair, you have anything else?
Thank you, Ms. Vice Chair. Certainly, I wanted to also recommend our resolution recommending the name of Nathaniel and Julian Adderley as the name for the stage at Cascade Park. Those Grammy-winning, talented Tallahassee residents, and I'm not sure if they grew up in Smoky Hollow. I'm not clear exactly where they live, but certainly their stature in eminence in the music world would more than readily qualify them as a reference for a name. Anybody coming to perform on the stage of Nathaniel and Julian Adderley would know they've got to bring their A game. It sets that standard. Their name is jazz royalty, and we cannot liken those who've been brought up in this community. So I'd like to make the motion, Vice Chairman, that we propose the name of the stage at Cascades, Nathaniel and Julian Adderley.
Motion been made by the chair for resolution to change the amphitheater stage name to the Nathaniel and Julian Adderley Amphitheater at Cascade. Is there a second to the motion? Motion is seconded by Commissioner Cummings. Commissioner Dozier?
I'd just like to make a suggestion, if the chairman is willing. Could we just ask staff to make that one item on both the park and the stage? Because, again, as we just talked about, it is the city's purview on both of them, and we could just bring those two issues together, and it may be helpful to bring in some of that history about the stage committee and those agreements, so we're all reminded on exactly where we stand vis-a-vis the city.
I tell you what, how about we do this, Madam Attorney. Commissioner Proctor, recall your last motion on the park, and then what we'll do with that recall is we'll bring it back and combine these two motions to make one resolution.
Very good.
Madam Attorney, how do you feel?
The vote's already taken place, so you could basically reconsider.
Reconsider, yeah.
But then you'd have to vote on that, and then you'd have to make you'd have to vote to reconsider and then vote on that. So
Let's amend the motion that's being made to be tied to the previous one. That saves us a lot of time.
All right. Motion's been made to tie the previous motion, which was to name the Cascade Park at Smoky Hollow. So this would be a combination of both motions. Are there any objections to the motion on the floor? Seeing none, so the motion is passed. We will send one resolution to the city. It encompasses both the resolution to rename Cascade Park at Smoky Hollow, and also, ma'am?
I'm sorry, I thought there were agenda items coming back for us to consider sending resolutions.
Oh, no, we voted.
That's what the motion was by the chair, was to bring agenda items back on both. Yes, sir.
I didn't hear agenda item. You want agenda item, you want the resolution?
I want to convey it, a resolution to the city if they have the power.
It's just a straight out resolution, not agenda item.
Yeah, a resolution to indicate to them our desire.
Mr. Vice Chair, I believe that was...
Perhaps there could be some clarification. The administrators thought it was an agenda item coming back. I thought that it had morphed into just a straight resolution. So if the board could just clarify what its desire is and what those encompass, that would be helpful.
The chair's desire is for a resolution, not an agenda item. Mr. Chair, am I correct on that?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, is the board clear on that? Is that what you voted for?
My perspective was the same as the county attorney's. It started off as a agenda item, but evolved into a resolution, which we voted on.
Let me tell you what happened. The administrator, it started off as a request for an agenda item, but they indicated that we don't have any jurisdiction. So recognizing jurisdiction is at the city, then let us forward a resolution.
Exactly. We voted on a resolution, is my understanding.
Yes.
Yes.
So both votes were for a resolution. Well, the second one combined the resolution.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are we still good? Anybody want to reconsider? Short is passed. Thank you. Mr. Chair.
Mr. Vice Chairman, thank you. I want to thank Carrie Post and Christina Paredes for the luncheon that we had yesterday, which was National Economic Development Week and National Tourist Development Week, which our community combined. There was a tremendous crowd. There was a good overview of tourism and economic development pre-COVID, through COVID, and where we are now, and indicators that we are at record pace this year if we maintain what we're doing in the first quarter of the year. And kudos to their excellent work. And to all of our staff at this midpoint of 2022 year, we thank you for your hard work, for what you've been doing. Then finally, Commissioners, I want to commend Commissioner Richardson, Curtis Richardson, for efforts of the city to look at the Southside Cemetery. It is very, very critical that the city is now in the throes of a buyback program. If you have lots that have not been used by your family, they will buy them and put them on a line for families. But if they're able to acquire 3 acres of the National Weather thingy that's adjacent to this current cemetery, that would be huge. As a preacher, as a pastor, there's nothing more critical that I'm aware of families than once dealing with that blow of your loved one passing. Then the second point being exactly where is our loved one going to be laid to rest. And all across our community, there's a restlessness around the issue of resting for demised family members. So that's a huge thing. And I'm hopeful, Vince, that you can shadow the city. I know that in our graveyards, the county maintains and oversees our cemeteries, and inside the city, they maintain and see about theirs. But, a part of the South Side is in the city, and there's a part of us who just ain't in the city. I think the cemetery is in the city, and it's aligned adjacent to the airport. I think that's in the city, and that's not our cemetery. So I encourage it, and I certainly wish that we could get more than the deceased to be in the city. They don't vote, but we do have people living that pay utility bills in the same geographic area, and they can't vote. All right, it's been a great meeting.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, one thing. Commissioner Jackson isn't here, but I had a chance to do a ride along maybe a couple weeks ago with the fire department. And I'm sorry about this, Mr. Chair. One of the last things I got a chance to ride along on was a accident on Highway 20 where a young lady was walking in the middle of the street with a cart and got hit and died. And I don't know, if you, we all are familiar with Highway 20. Once you get past Capitol Circle, you get down, let's say about a half a mile to a mile or so. If you want, there's businesses on the other side. If you want to cross down there, you got to go all the way up to Capitol Circle and cross. Mr. Administrator, can you tell me, that's a state road. I'm thinking maybe I have to go through CRTPA, but I'm wondering if we can't get flashlight crosswalks, just one down there by the neighborhood that's right down, that's about half a mile down the road, because there's a little internet cafe or something right across the street there, and that's where I think the young lady was trying to pass. And it was, when I say it was dark, because it was about 10:30 at night, you couldn't see. And the car that was coming, there's no way that car could have seen that young lady in the road, and it was a sad scene. So I'm wondering if there's some kind of way that we can get a flashing crosswalk there where, you just kind of hit the sign and it lights up so people can get across there. Because otherwise, you got to, like I said, you got to walk way back up to Capitol Circle to get across, to get on the other side. So I don't know if there's a CRTP issue. That's something we can work.
We'll be happy to evaluate it.
Okay.
Yep. We'll bring it back to you or just advise you via email.
And could you check with Commissioner Jackson on that? Because maybe that's not the right spot, but I'm thinking somewhere down in there.
We'll evaluate. We'll evaluate. We'll have all the engineering people, transportation people evaluate the appropriate spots.
You need a motion for that? We're good.
No, we're good.
All right. Thank you.
Commissioners, if there are no other comments, let me just say that you ain't got to go home, but you got to get up out of here.